Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I've always considered myself a pretty rational person. I live out here surrounded by miles of dense forest. And while I've heard strange noises and seen unexplainable things, I've always found a logical explanation. Until last Tuesday, that was the day my life and everything I thought I knew about the world changed forever. And it all started with my cat, Mittens. Now, Mittens is an adventurer. She's a fluffy grey tabby with a hunter's spirit, and she's always bringing me little gifts from the forest. Usually, it's a field mouse or a small bird. Things I've learned to accept with a sigh and a pat on her head. But last Tuesday was different. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard her familiar meow at the back door, but it sounded different, urgent, almost panicked. I opened the door and there she was. But she wasn't alone. Huddled behind her, shivering slightly, was the most incredible creature I had ever seen. It was small, maybe the size of a human toddler, covered in shaggy reddish-brown fur. It had large, dark, incredibly expressive eyes that stared up at me with a mixture of fear and curiosity. My first thought, as absurd as it sounds, was, it looked like a baby ape, maybe, but we don't have apes in these woods. Then another thought hit me like a lightning bolt. It looked exactly like the drawings and descriptions of a baby Bigfoot. My heart was pounding. Mittens nudged the little creature forward, meowing softly, as if to say, "It's okay. This is my human. He's safe." I slowly knelt down, holding out my hand. The little being flinched, but then, seeing Mittens rub against my leg, it cautiously took a step forward and sniffed my fingers. Its hand was tiny, with delicate, almost human-like fingers. I was speechless, completely in awe. I brought them both inside, my mind racing. What do you do when your cat brings home a baby Sasquatch? I knew I couldn't tell anyone who would believe me. They'd think I was crazy, or worse, they'd want to take it away, study it, put it in a cage. Looking into those soulful eyes, I couldn't bear that thought. So I did the only thing I could think of. I decided to care for it, to keep it safe, at least for a little while. I named him Rusty because of his fur color. Rusty was surprisingly gentle. He was fascinated by everything in the house, especially the television, and he and Mittens were inseparable. It was the most bizarre yet heartwarming friendship I'd ever witnessed. I knew this couldn't last. Rusty belonged in the wild, with his own kind. He was getting bigger, and my small cabin was no match for his growing energy. Plus, I had a nagging feeling that somewhere out there, a mother was frantically searching for her lost child. This is where my forest cameras come in. I have several set up around my property to watch for wildlife. I thought maybe, just maybe, they had captured something that could help. I spent the entire night going through days of footage. It was mostly deer, raccoons, the occasional bear. I was starting to lose hope when I saw it. The footage was from 2 nights before Rusty appeared. A large, shadowy figure moved at the edge of the tree line. It was massive, easily over 7 feet tall, and covered in the same reddish-brown fur as Rusty. It moved with a powerful, fluid grace. It paused, looked around, and then let out a low, mournful sound. It was a call, a searching call. It was Rusty's parent. My heart ached. I knew what I had to do. The next evening, just before dusk, I took Rusty to the edge of the forest where I'd captured the footage. Mittens came with us, staying close to Rusty's side. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I gave him one last look, telling him to be safe. He looked back at me, a deep understanding in his eyes. Then he turned and disappeared into the trees. I waited, my breath held. A few minutes later, I heard that same low call from the footage. But this time, it was answered by a higher-pitched, joyful cry. It was Rusty. I didn't see them, but I knew he was safe. I knew he was home. As I walked back to my cabin with Mittens trotting beside me, I checked my cameras one last time, and what I saw took my breath away. The camera had captured it all. The massive figure of the parent Bigfoot stepping out of the shadows, Rusty running into its arms, a reunion of pure love and relief. And then, before they disappeared back into the forest, the large creature turned and looked directly at the camera at me. It raised a hand, not in a threatening way, but in what I can only describe as a gesture of acknowledgement, a gesture of thanks. I've saved that footage. I watch it sometimes when I'm feeling lonely. I don't know if I'll ever see them again. The world is full of mysteries, things we can't explain. Sometimes they show up right on your doorstep, brought home by a brave little cat. It taught me that compassion has no boundaries and that the world is so much more magical than we can ever imagine. Thanks for listening to my story. It's something I had to share. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more stories from the edge of the woods. Stay curious, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.